In the Scottish Highlands, Jimmy was watching TV with his sisters and cousins when a siren suddenly blared outside. His aunt locked the door and told the children to stay still. Terrified by the commotion around the house, Jimmy went to the door and called for his father. Just then, the door began to shake, and infected, zombie-like creatures burst into the room. They attacked the girls, eating them ravenously. Jimmy hid behind the door and they didn't notice him. He took the opportunity to run, but in another room, he saw zombies eating his mother. As he tried to escape, he saw all his relatives slowly turning into the infected. Fortunately, he managed to escape the building, but with more infected outside, he decided to head to a church to find his father and ask for help. However, the priest at the church didn't believe the infected were a bad thing. In fact, he believed they were saved, as he saw it as Judgment Day. He gave Jimmy his golden cross and told him to have faith. Just then, the infected broke through the windows and came inside. Jimmy ran away, but his father stayed, wanting to be saved. The infected swarmed and bit him, turning him into one of them. The cause of this plague was the rage virus, which the European continent contained to the UK, isolating it from the rest of the world. It became a wasteland where survivors had to fend for themselves. 28 years after the initial outbreak, a community of survivors lives on Lindisfarne Island, separated from the mainland by a tidal causeway. Today, a young boy named Spike is being taught how to kill his first infected. His father, Jamie, was making breakfast when he heard his sick wife, Isla, fall in the bedroom. They both went to check on her. When Isla heard that Spike was going for his training, she panicked. An argument ensued, but she calmed down after a few words, as she suffered from constant memory loss and confusion, often not knowing what was happening to her. Back in the kitchen, Spike's grandfather, Sam, gave him a new arrow. As they left the town, everyone cheered for Spike and wished him luck. At the town gate, Jenny reminded him of the rules. Anyone can leave, but if they don't return, no one will go looking for them, as rescue missions have already cost too many lives. They then crossed the causeway to the mainland. Jamie shared many stories from the old days. Spike couldn't believe people used to live so far from the sea. They crossed a bridge and entered a forest, always on the lookout for enemies. They eventually found a slow-moving infected crawling on the ground with a bird on its back. As the bird began to eat some worms, Spike prepared his bow and shot an arrow into the creature's neck, killing it instantly. Another infected approached from behind, so Jamie shot and killed it with an arrow. The sound attracted more monsters. Jamie killed another one, but Spike asked him to spare the last one. Jamie was proud of his son, even though Spike felt sorrow at having to kill them. They continued through the forest and saw beautiful animals. They finally found an abandoned house where an infected was tied upside down. It had a bag on its head and letters tattooed on its back. Jamie theorized that someone had captured and preyed on him when he was human, and now he was a more dangerous type of infected. Jamie asked Spike to kill it, but the infected kept struggling. The boy was scared, and the infected broke free. Spike panicked and shot his arrow, killing the monster with a shot to the head. Afterward, they walked on and found a half-eaten animal on the ground. Spike looked up and saw its head and spine stuck in a tree. For the first time that day, Jamie was worried because only an alpha infected could have done that. He told his son to move quickly and quietly. When they reached an open field, they found a pack of infected and their alpha leader. Both Jamie and Spike rushed back into the forest as the creatures began to pursue them. The danger didn't stop Jamie from training Spike, telling him how to shoot while moving and how to aim for the heart and head to kill. They headed back to the abandoned house, shooting arrows at every infected that followed them. They finally found a trapdoor entrance to the cellar and went inside, closing it before the infected could see them. Hours passed. They both kept looking outside, but the alpha never left the area. Jamie explained to his son that alphas were bigger and smarter, and it would take more arrows to kill them. They had no arrows left, so now they had to wait. Spike felt guilty for wasting some shots and being too scared to shoot faster, but Jamie assured him he had done a wonderful job for his first time. At midnight, they saw a person walking in the distance with a light. Jamie explained that it was a quarantine patrol. On the opposite side, they saw a fire, and Spike was curious about it, but Jamie quickly changed the subject. When Spike fell asleep, he had a strange nightmare of his mother drowning and buildings shaking. Jamie woke him up because the house they were hiding in was collapsing, and they had to get out. They both ran out quickly, managing to escape just before the roof caved in. Knowing the noise would attract the infected, Jamie and Spike began to run back to the town as fast as they could. The tide had covered the causeway, but it wasn't too deep, so they could still cross it. Suddenly, a flock of birds flew over them, and the Alpha appeared on the causeway to pursue them. Spike fell into the water, but Jamie acted quickly to help him. Together, they ran fast and made it back to shore. Jamie then yelled and blew a whistle to alert the guards at the gate. They found the Alpha and shot arrows to take it down, but it kept coming. They then shot a fire arrow, which finally took the Alpha down. Jamie was able to pull his son to the gate. Jenny made them wait a few moments to make sure they weren't infected, then opened the gate to let them inside. Later, at a party, everyone celebrated Spike's return and his first kill. Jamie told the whole story, but Spike was uncomfortable with the celebration of so much killing. The crowd lifted Spike onto a chair, and he was allowed to drink. Spike eventually became so distraught that he ran outside to vomit. At that moment, he saw Jamie making out with another woman. He felt a deep sadness, seeing his father having an affair. Spike went home, where Sam was watching over a sleeping Isla. After sharing details of his adventure, Spike asked Sam about the fire he had seen. Sam thought it was a doctor named Kelson, but Jamie never liked talking about him. The next morning, Isla woke up with a bad headache and asked for her medicine, but Spike didn't know where to find it. Jamie then returned. Spike couldn't look at him, so he left the room. After a few minutes, Spike mustered the courage to ask Jamie why he wouldn't let Kelson examine Isla. Jamie explained that Kelson had gone crazy a long time ago. He told him what happened the last time they tried to visit him, 15 years ago. The group, including Jamie, found thousands of dead bodies piled in a row around a large fire. Kelson appeared to take the bodies to the fire and waved at the group. They ran away in fear. Spike insisted that Isla needed help and yelled about his father's affair. This led to Jamie slapping him. He immediately regretted it, but Spike ran upstairs to his mother. When Jamie tried to follow him, Spike grabbed a knife and told him to stay away. Jamie easily disarmed him but didn't want to make things worse, so he gave the knife back and left. A little while later, Spike set fire to a barn and ran to alert the gate guards. He said they needed help putting out the fire. He offered to stand guard while the adults went. But once he was alone, Spike called for Isla. They went through the gate and onto the causeway to the mainland. When she realized where they were, Isla panicked, calling for Jamie and her father. Spike calmed her down and convinced her a doctor would help her. After walking all day, they found a building to spend the night. Isla got tired of standing guard and woke Spike up. She shared stories from before she was sick and said Spike was just like her father. As the conversation continued, Isla began to call Spike, Daddy. He told her to get some sleep while he stood guard. Unfortunately, Spike was tired and fell asleep too. So an infected was able to enter the building. It tried to eat Spike's shoelaces, but when it realized they were just worms, it spit them out. It then came close to Spike's face, but as it was about to bite, someone pulled it back. At that moment, Spike woke up, thinking he had been dreaming, but the dead body of the infected was nearby. Isla said she didn't know what happened, but a flashback reveals she had smashed the infected's head on a statue. The scene then cuts to a group of soldiers being pursued by a pack of infected. They try to shoot and kill as many creatures as they can, but many soldiers are injured. They're also low on bullets. The infected soon catch up to them and begin to bite them, turning them into the infected as well. The other soldiers are forced to shoot and kill their comrades. Only 3 people escape. They reach a tunnel and close the gate before the infected get too close. They then inspect the tunnel, and an Alpha jumps on them. He grabs one soldier and rips his head off along with his spine. He uses it to knock another person down. The third soldier, Isla, shoots the infected by the door and runs out of the tunnel. She was in the army before. Returning to Isla and Spike, they continued their journey with Isla's crazy thoughts. When they found an old statue, she thought it was her father and talked to Spike. Her nose began to bleed, and the smell attracted an infected, but Spike quickly killed it with an arrow. Some of its blood landed on Isla's forehead, so Spike rushed to clean it before she touched it. Soon more infected came, and they ran as fast as they could. As an enemy got close, Spike shot arrows. Finally, they reached a gas station and struggled with the door until they could get inside. The room was full of smoke, and it was hard to breathe. The infected followed them inside, and they had to run. Spike grabbed some items and threw them at the creatures. There were many monsters, and they were surrounded. But at that moment, a ceiling hatch opened, and a soldier, Eric, told them to hide. He then shot at the infected, causing the gas station to explode. The fire burned all the creatures. They tried to escape, but they fell dead before they could get outside. Isla and Spike were well hidden and weren't hurt. They then left the building. As Isla was vomiting and struggling with a headache, Eric approached them and asked them to show him the way. When Spike couldn't answer, he panicked. Eventually, Eric decided to go with them. While traveling, he offered to carry Isla. A few hours later, they stopped for a break and had some apples. Eric looked at his phone, but there was no signal, and the battery was very low. Spike had never seen a phone before, so Eric taught him how it worked and showed him a picture of his girlfriend. At that moment, the battery died, and Eric threw the phone away. The group then started to travel. Isla heard a sound and went ahead of the boys. She followed it to an abandoned train. Inside, there were many rats, and she was shocked to find a pregnant infected woman. At first, the infected was aggressive, but Isla showed her she didn't mean any harm. She helped her give birth. When the boys arrived, Isla asked Spike to cut the umbilical cord. She then used water to clean the baby. When the infected woman screamed and lunged forward, Eric immediately shot and killed her. Eric also wanted to kill the baby. However, Spike and Isla looked closer and realized the baby was human. Just as Eric was about to shoot, an infected hand came through the ceiling and pulled him outside. The infected then jumped inside. He was an alpha and revealed that he had Eric's head in his hand. When he noticed the dead infected, he became enraged. He began to run after the humans, and Spike kept shooting arrows. They didn't kill it, but they slowed the alpha down. Soon, Spike, Isla, and the baby were able to get off the train. The alpha did too. The pursuit continued. However, Dr. Kelson arrived and shot him down with a tranquilizer. Kelson then introduced himself, explaining that he was covered from head to toe to protect him from the ion virus. He took Eric's head and called the alpha, Samson. He said he had been living in the area for 3 years, but Kelson kept his distance. Spike asked the doctor to help his mom. Kelson agreed to take them to his ossuary, a shrine-like place he had created to remember the dead. Thousands of bones were tied together as pillars, and skulls were piled up to make a tower. Kelson used both human and infected remains, as they were very similar. After putting Eric's head on the fire and burning all the flesh, Kelson washed the skull and asked Spike to add it to the tower. After that, Kelson saw the baby and understood that he had been saved from infection. He ran various tests on Isla and determined she had terminal cancer. As Isla cried, Spike panicked because he didn't understand that she couldn't be cured. Isla calmed her son down and admitted she had suspected she had cancer for a while, but she wasn't sure. Isla then distracted Spike and indicated to Kelson that she was willing to be euthanized. Isla then placed the baby in Spike's arms and followed Kelson into the woods, where he euthanized her and put her out of her misery. Spike thought about happy memories with his mother. That's when Kelson returned with Isla's clean skull. After handing the baby to the doctor, Spike climbed the tower and placed Isla's skull at the very top as the sun rose. In the morning, Samson appeared in the field, so Kelson pushed the children into a secret pit he had built for protection. He hid there too. Samson found them and looked and screamed at them as he tried to shift the door, but he couldn't. They thought they were safe. However, Samson came back and broke the wood. He grabbed Kelson and shook him, then began to choke him. Spike took one of the doctor's tranquilizer needles and injected Samson's arm, which immediately put him to sleep and saved Kelson. After that, Spike slowly made his way back to the town. He named the baby Isla and left her outside the gate with a note for Jenny to find. The note was taken to Jamie. Jamie read it and understood that Spike was gone and didn't want to see him. The letter also clarified that Kelson was not crazy and that the baby was not infected. A heartbroken Jamie ran out of the town to find his son. However, the tide was too high, and he couldn't go very far. 28 days later, Spike is wandering on the mainland, surviving by hunting and eating animals. When an infected tried to approach him, he easily killed it with an arrow. More creatures were coming, so Spike had to run. The road was blocked by a large rock wall, but luckily, only one infected made it there to see him, and Spike killed it too. Suddenly, someone made a sound of surprise, and Spike turned around. It was Jimmy, who had escaped at the beginning of the film. Spike looked adoringly at the young man who had saved his life. Jimmy was impressed with Spike's skills. He revealed that he had his own team. More infected were coming, so the group jumped down from the wall. They fought together to take down all the creatures in a few minutes. They laughed as they did this because they enjoyed the brutal killing. Jimmy celebrated the victory with a war cry and told Spike that they had to be friends. The movie ends with this scene. Turn on notifications and subscribe to watch more videos like this.